Okay, it's 1 o'clock, so we'll call this meeting to order. Notice that this meeting was posted properly, and would you call roll call?
David Peterson.
Present.
Danny Honeycutt.
Present.
Joe Blau. Michael Taylor. Chantel Bosa. Here. Miles Davidson.
Here.
Christy Miller.
Okay. Discussion and possible action to set the date, time, and place. We have a motion that we meet today at 4 o'clock if we lose connectivity and are unable to resume within 30 minutes. Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. What? Okay. Yeah, I think everyone that is here. So, approval of the minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes of April 21st? So, do we have a second? Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay. Number 3, make a note that Christy has joined the meeting. Departmental items, discussion and possible action to identify and review all contracts. Danny Honeycutt, do you have an update?
Nothing that hasn't previously been provided.
Okay. Anybody else have any update or discussion? There isn't any. No action. We're going on to number 4, discussion and possible action to identify all property listed on county inventory used within Oklahoma County Detention Center.
I provided a thumb drive full of inventory and pictures of detention-specific items. It's being handed to William Monday today. So, if you'd like, maybe we can also provide a copy of that list to your office so we can start kind of balancing against what you're showing, what we're showing.
That would be wonderful, because I think we're getting real close to wanting to do this. Do we have a motion to approve the update?
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Number 5, discussion and possible action to identify costs associated with reduction of force. Danny, do you have any updates on this, or Joe?
Well, the trust didn't take action on deciding they would or wouldn't allow employees to transfer over.
I believe my understanding is that if they didn't take action, they did at least acknowledge that their anticipation is that it'll be just kind of a lateral transfer where they'll maintain their current levels of leave. And that's of course what.
That being said, with regard to this item and costs associated, what we'll need to do as soon as possible, identify those employees that anticipated would be retained by the trust so that we can notify them in a letter. Because bear in mind, the statute requirement is they get to decide how much, if any, of their leave they want to transfer over to the executive entity. So that would be as of yet unknown cost. I think, Dan, when we looked at this from the beginning, $1 million, and that was months ago. So that is a cost that is still out there.
Right, and we can reach out to Ms. Mignetta, the trust new personnel director, I guess, and they've received potential hire paperwork from several of our employees, and so we kind of gather a list to kind of have a better idea of what that number is.
Okay, all right, thank you, Dan. So that's it on that.
Okay. Do we have a motion to receive the report?
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Number 7, discussion and possible, or number 6, sorry. Discussion and possible action to request the Oklahoma County District Attorney's Office to prepare an interlocal agreement.
I think the only one that hasn't been formally adopted is the transportation. But I think the treasurers and both of yours have been handled.
Well, not completely. I was asked by the trust to do all of the clerk's duties, meaning they want us to do accounts payable, which was something we hadn't discussed, and we don't have an MOU about that. That would entail having purchasing become involved, and what they described to me, Tricia described it as that she would like us to do it so that they can take over, and then they can look at it, 6 months or a year down the line and see if they want to take it over or if they can or not. But they felt fairly strongly that we needed to do all of our duties as clerk and treasurer, so to help them to move forward. So I think it's going to take a different or an addition to the MOU, which I will request through John Williams and send it up to our DA staff.
So, Mr. Hooten, the AP part would be under the purview of your office. Purchasing is a standalone department under the budget board, so that would be a separate agreement.
It'd have to be, yes.
And then, do you happen to know? My understanding of the trust is that they don't have to follow.
Correct.
The same purchasing requirements that Oklahoma County utilizes. My concern, and I've mentioned this before in meetings when the trust was being developed, was that Chantel's staff would have to become familiar with two separate purchasing laws and regulations. So do you know if it's the trust intent to follow Oklahoma County's purchasing regulations?
Absolutely. That's what their intent was.
Same with our duties. We are providing those services with the laws and statutory requirements we have now, and as long as they agree to those.
And they understand that they're having to do far and beyond what they need to do, but they want to do it because to them it was important that they have transparency and that they have governmental involvement as to the way the trust was formed, having the clerk and the treasurer involved.
And Chantel, have you had discussions about this?
Many months ago, I met with Mr. Williams and Jane Lamb, and we had a discussion of the intention not to utilize county purchasing. So, like I said, many months have gone by, things could have changed, and I'm not aware as of today of any changes.
Right. We met with them last week, and they felt like they needed us to help them with this. And so I'll make a motion to recommend that we have an MOU for the county clerk's office to do accounts payable and to have an MOU with purchasing, unless you need to do that too.
A couple more questions, if I might. Being that this is the first that you've heard of this, and to date, all of the business transactions that the trust has done in terms of the RFIs, I believe is what they're calling them, you have not been involved with. I'm wondering from a staffing point of view, what the addition of this additional group would do to your office.
We're all doing our jobs currently, aren't we?
If the trust wanted to take a different approach and not follow the same policies or procedures that we have in place, that would be in addition to what we're doing.
But the fact that they're wanting to do it
I would
with the
definitely
policies.
want to entertain a conversation before I would recommend going into an agreement. I'd like to maybe ask a few questions, try to see what their plans are moving forward. We are doing a lot of work in our office currently, setting up for this new fiscal year. And so we want to be sure we're doing that appropriately for whatever entities we may be assisting in different departments. So if I could,
Absolutely.
if there was someone that kind of wanted to have that conversation, I'd be happy to.
how about if I set up a meeting with you, Tricia, and Greg Williams for tomorrow or the next day? And that way we won't.
I don't want to get too ahead.
I understand totally. Okay. So do we have a motion to receive the update? I'll strike my earlier motion.
Motion to receive the update on 6.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, number 7, discussion of possible action to identify computer, telephone, and technology needs.
The trust has recently hired an IT individual, and so I think they're going to be better positioned to handle this particular item going forward. Not necessarily from our end, but from theirs. They'll let us know if they're going to be.
And my understanding was that they plan on using the same technology that we're using, and that they're willing to use Tyler and Munis, and they are going to use ExecuTime, and so they are willing to align themselves with us so that so that the transition can be seamless, and that's their intent and our intent as our understanding. Christy, is that correct as far as you remember? Okay. We have a motion. Anybody else want to say something?
Let me just make one comment. I think what we'll see out of the jail trust meeting in early June, maybe more of a heads up, but it was related to IT, so it's okay to mention it here, is some type of request for some more funding for the end of the year to purchase all their computer equipment and stuff that they need to get ready. So we'll keep that.
Okay. Do we have a motion to receive the report?
Motion to receive the report on 7.
Second. Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Number 8, discussion and possible action to identify and review insurance policies and surety bonds. Dan Matthews, would you both like to opine?
I have very little to opine about. I do know that they are in the process, Beckman Company is in the process of getting quotes on the insurances. A lot of applications to be completed, a lot of detail to be provided to the underwriters so that they can get the policies in place and make quotes on those. So I do know that's all in process, and hopefully one of the big pieces was the turnover date, when it was going to go live, how many employees there would be, and that type of thing, what jobs there would be in. So it's in process. Hopefully they'll have quotes for the near future.
And I'd add that we did have, the House bill was passed of the House, the Senate, and it was signed into law that the jail trust can use their judgments against the tax rolls. So that is a huge thing.
How exactly will that process work? That came through quite at the tail end of the legislative session. So without that legislation, they would have been unable to do so. So what is the process and how that's going to work? That's something that, as this trust was being set up, that Cody and I were quite interested in trying to get an answer to. So apparently we have the answer, but what will the process look like?
I think part of I would think it would be done exactly like it's being done now. Part of the problem of not having it in place was that they were seeing that their insurance they weren't even getting quotes because of liability. And so I think this has helped them. And as far as how it would take place, I would guess it would take place the same way as it does now.
So, clarification, similar to the way it is now, nobody can put judgments on tax rolls except for county commissioners. It'll remain that way. This just allows county commissioners across the state the ability to put any judgment against one of their public trusts onto the tax rolls should they be needed.
It's for counties over 500,000 or 600,000. Yeah.
So that would be 2 counties in the
Two
state.
counties.
And it's specific trust related to jail operations, or it's any Title 60 trust? And then Miles, so the way it works now is in settlement discussions, the board, or even in judgments, those are placed on the rolls individually by action of either a court or the board. So are you saying that if the trust is sued, that it would be each occurrence in terms of placing something onto the, and in the event that the board at that time decided they were not inclined to do so, what would happen?
I don't know the answer.
The legislation didn't speak to that?
I don't know the answer to that.
I'll be glad to get you a copy of the. Have you read this?
Oh, I read it.
You read it? Okay.
What does it say?
It doesn't say anything to that.
Right.
I think a lot of care was taken in that it didn't. It was trying to accomplish a goal without causing fallout from other counties and or complicate the matters by opening a can of worms we didn't necessarily want to.
Yes, I understand.
Okay. Any other comments? All right, do we have a motion to receive that report?
Motion to receive the report on number 8.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Number 9, discussion of possible action to identify and review unfunded or unallocated expenses of the Criminal Justice Authority. I'm unaware of.
Sounds like we're going to have some IT related.
Right.
Yeah, I think they're going to come with a request.
Right.
And
And
of course,
it-
the time that Dan mentioned.
and it's my understanding that they are trying to accomplish the July 1st takeover, or another date was thrown out, which was August 12th. I don't know which one they're going to use, but I'm sure they'll notify us as soon as they know. They had a specific concern that we'll talk about in item 13. Anything else? Do we have a motion to receive the update?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Number 10, discussion of possible action to identify and review timeline, deadlines, dates. As I just stated, I think they're shooting for July 1st.
Right. I mean, that's what we should probably be. We should be shooting for that and just recognize your specific timelines and focus everything towards those.
Any other comments? Do you have a motion to receive number 9, update?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Number 10, discussion of possible action to identify, number 11. Is that correct? Discussion of possible action related to the development of the separation of employment. Joe, would you like to?
Again, Mr. Hidden, much like we discussed in the previous item, we're just needing a list of the employees that won't be going to the law enforcement side, that the trust, or actually that the county would be separating service with, not necessarily that the trust is going to employ. A little bit different, so that we can find out about the leave. And then there was a question as to whether or not those that were interested in interviewing with the trust, making a copy of their file. That's one thing that hasn't quite been decided yet. And so those are really the things, and getting them a letter, obviously, that their separation with the county. Because that will also entail those that don't go to work for the trust would have the ability to get onto our COBRA and continue their health benefits, et cetera, if they so choose. So there's there's some things that we need to get done, but I think we've got a handle on everything they are. It's just a matter of awaiting names.
Danny, do you know of any specific number of people as far as how many are staying and how many are going?
I don't know what that number is. I know that the last time I heard from the trust people on this specific issue, they had a pretty good idea that they'd almost received the required paperwork they needed from the overwhelming majority of current employees. So, like I said, after the meeting, I'll shoot Michelle an email and we'll get it figured out.
Okay. And just out of curiosity, how many people are you all keeping?
I don't know the total number.
Okay. Do you have a ballpark? I'm just curious.
Well, like off the top of my head, it's 20-ish that are coming from detention to law.
Okay. And total number of law enforcement, that ballpark number is?
I think it was 163 is what we submitted on our estimate of needs.
And wasn't there a 15 extra on the jails, on the trust side?
On the detention side, yeah.
Yes. And that was just
That
to,
was just to get them up to 400.
okay. So 163 and 400 is kind of,
Well, that's not a, I mean,
I know it's not a real number. It's just ballpark.
right.
Okay.
I think that 163 was just our general fund personnel costs. And then the special revenues would have contain your reimbursables, and that'd probably be another 30 or so.
Mr. Taylor, you can join the meeting if you so inclined. Okay, anyone else have anything to say about 11? Do we have a motion to receive the update?
Motion to receive the update on that.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Let the notes show that Michael Taylor has joined the meeting and voted on number 11. Number 12, discussion and possible action related to any item on the Detention Center Transition Committee task list. I'm unaware of any updating on that. Does anyone have an update for it? Okay. Nobody has anything. No actions required. Number 13, discussion and possible action, create a lease agreement with the Criminal Justice Authority. It is my understanding that the trust needs this addressed as quickly as can be done properly. They felt like it was their next step they had to take. Does anyone have any discussion about this? I'd make the motion that we go ahead.
I'm a little curious. We, District 1, have been working on this for months at the request of the trust. So we have been working with the district attorney's office. Friday evening, I got an email from Aaron, and I believe we're very close to having this document ready. So unless somebody else wants to take a try.
No, I was just hoping you guys were real close.
And this body's previously recommended getting into a lease agreement, so I don't know what.
Well, it's the only option for the DA.
Well, I thank you and your office for all the hard work, and I know that you've been on top of that, and we appreciate that. And so,
And I might just say the trust has been fully apprised, or at least the chair, of where we're at on this. So I'm a little surprised by the item, but that's okay.
I placed the item because I was unaware of your position, and that's the whole reason for these meetings, is so that we all can understand what's going on.
Yeah, I understand.
So do we have a motion to receive the update?
Motion to receive the update on item 15. Second.
We have a motion and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right. Item 14, discussion and possible action to set the next meeting. What is the pleasure of the board?
David, what's your deadlines look like
Well, I mean,
for payroll? Is that the 22nd?
20th.
I think we should definitely meet before then. Before we have any kind of hard deadlines, we should meet prior to that point.
I have a feeling a lot of stuff's going to be on your first Monday in June.
Right. Why don't we meet the 8th? Would that work? The 8th at 1 o'clock? All in favor of setting the meeting for 1 o'clock on June 8th? Or that's the motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Board comments. Joe?
No, thank you.
Nothing?
No, thank you.
All right. Well, I'll make no comments, and thank you all for everything. We're getting there, it looks like. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.